Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video. And today I want to talk about the question that's been burning up the Destiny scene the last couple days, which is the game dying / dead? What should FFG do about this, and where are we going from here? Okay, so before we get into problems and solutions, I want to do a quick history lesson, because I've been playing FFG games competitively, traveling, since about 2012. I was very serious about the Game of Thrones first version of the LCG. I was in the initial wave of the Star Wars LCG game, playing at Worlds at the highest levels. I played Netrunner pretty briefly at a competitive level. I played the Game of Thrones reboot of the LCG, and then now I play Destiny. So I've seen a lot of FFG games, so I have a pretty good idea of what they are like, how they treat their games, and their trajectory as a company. So let's go through that real quick to try to figure out, like, where are we with Destiny. So the first thing that I often talk about with FFG is they're a great game at making games, but not a great game for the maintenance of games. They feel like a board game company that has stumbled upon this new avenue of making more money off their customers longer term, but it tends to be that FFG games have a trajectory of a lifespan where it starts off hot and new and interesting year one. Year two, it's still pretty new and interesting, but there's a new game that's even more hot and more interesting and leeching off of the player base. By year three, now there's another new, hotter game that's leeching off the player base. And so every year, the game that you're playing becomes less relevant because there's always the newer game. And what ends up happening is the games all end up having this trajectory of massive popularity, less, and eventual death. This is what I've seen. The Star Wars LCG was a great example of this, of a game that started off wildly popular, but very quickly in its lifespan hit some of the problems we've seen with Destiny, which is a serious product shortage, and we called it the Dark Ages, where it was like 6 months with no product in an LCG that promises monthly product, and then the product that we did get was not good. Like, it wasn't impactful enough. So it was just kind of like, oh, so now it's really a year without real product, and that period pretty much killed the game. Like, you would say, are you insane? The LCG lasted forever, but it very much accelerated that trajectory that I talked about with the hot start in year one and then a steady decline. The Star Wars LCG declined very rapidly because of its distribution issues. So when we look at FFG, we have a really good track record to look back on, or a well-established one, I should say. Prize support is another one I see all the time, people saying FFG is the worst at prize support. And while I agree FFG is not good at prize support, they have gotten so much better, it is absurd. The first Game of Thrones tournaments I played in, the prize I got, the sort of participation prize where now we would get like an alt art of some card, was a patch. Like a patch to sew on my jacket that was like the sun from Martell House. And I remember telling the organizer that I didn't know well at the time. I was like, is this serious? Like, who made these patches? And like, FFG puts them in the kit. I'm like, does FFG think I'm 9? That like I'm really gonna go home and be like, yeah, man, I got this like Boy Scout vest full of patches from FFG. Like, maybe some people love that, but I thought it was absolutely absurd. And they've gotten better over time. Now there's playmats that get involved. There's tokens. There's actual things people want to use. There's alt arts that are cool. And what's interesting to me is people still look at FFG and they say the prize support is just absurdly terrible and it has to be fixed. And I look at it and I go, yeah, no, I agree. It's not great, but boy, you never got a patch. And even more so, I'm really impressed by this associated with Cascade Games and these amazing alt arts that they've created that are actually worth hundreds of dollars. Like, that has not happened in an FFG game before. So the progress that FFG has made is actually monumental. So this is my point. If you are looking at this and you're utterly dissatisfied and discouraged, what I'm saying is I have bad news for you. This is by far the best they've ever done. But possibly this is a trajectory where they are just simply getting better. So calls for even greater and better prize support may be heeded by FFG. They may say, yeah, no, this is our trajectory. You think we need to speed it up even more? Sure, we'll do it. I don't know. But they have a well-established track record of not doing good prize support. And so it worries me that there is this expectation that they're going to do more. And I think a lot of it comes from this. So FFG has traditionally made LCGs, and so this is their first CCG, which theoretically makes them so much money they don't know what to do with. And so I think people have in their mind, like, because it's a CCG and our investment is so high into this, therefore the investment FFG makes should match that. And I have to say, like I said, this associated with Cascade Games and this whole other tournament series of Galactic Qualifiers, this is far more than they've done for any other game. So I worry a bit that if you are utterly dissatisfied in quitting the game because of this type of reason, I think we're in trouble. This is not Wizards of the Coast. This isn't their only product. They are a board game company that just happens to have stumbled upon the fact that they can make a lot of money making card games as well. Okay, so that's the history of FFG. Let's move into now where we're at, what people are saying about the game. So the first thing is I've heard a lot of people lately say, the game is dying, my meta reflects this. And I cannot argue with people that say that. I don't know what everyone's meta looks like right now. Our meta is definitely not as strong as it was during Awakenings. But remember, this is when FFG was the hot new product. Now the hot new product is Legend of the Five Rings this year. But I gotta say, by the way, they're having serious distribution issues. Not a unusual thing for FFG. And we'll get to that in a minute. And next year I have bad news. Once summer hits and Gen Con and there's a new game, I have no idea what it's going to be, but I have to assume it'll be amazing, some awesome IP. Destiny's going to take another hit. That's the problem with FFG. They cannibalize their own player base, and it's not like Magic where people are always coming in. I've actually been really impressed with Destiny that it has been way more like Magic than any other LCG I've ever played with FFG. It normally works like this. The game comes out, say Game of Thrones 2.0. We've got 14 people in our meta. It's going to be a fun time. The next new game comes out. Now we're down to 8. And they do not get replaced. One random person will come in occasionally and be like, "Okay, guys, my name's Bob. I bought into the Game of Thrones LCG." They come in, they get obliterated for 2 weeks, and they go home and they don't come back again. I haven't found that to be the case with Destiny. We have a lot more newer players than that. Not nearly the same that are leaving. I mean, SoCal at one point had 50 people meeting at multiple shops a week. It was amazing, and now it's dropped off substantially, 5, 6. It's the problem with living in LA that there are so many shops to play at. It's hard to get a united player base, and I'm sure there's a couple of shops that are getting like 12 or 14, but we're not seeing this like 50 every week, and I don't think we will again. I really think this is the trajectory of FFG games. We're on year 2. By year 3, by year 4, by year 5, we're going to not see as many players unless FFG can step up and take some really, really serious steps to rectify this. The problem is their track record says that doesn't interest them, right? Like, this game will die out. They know that. They have a plan for the next one already. I imagine they'll cycle in a new CCG dice game like every 3 years, and then, this one will cycle out. But Artificery has put up 3 or 4 ideas that they have. So I want to go through them real quick and see if we agree that these would help, if they're a problem, what's going on. All right. So number 1, they want to see a real release calendar with the dates for release and associated organized play events for the next 3 sets. In other words, it feels really awkward and weird. And I ran into this really hard with my regional, where it was like, I didn't know what the pool was going to look like. All the cards had been spoiled for the most recent set, but I didn't know if it would be legal or not. And I didn't know that until like 2 weeks before the event, and I didn't have time to fully test the new set. I had to just kind of be like, I don't know, Kylo's sister looks fine. Like, it's not going to be a bad deck. So sure, I made Kylo Talzin. So I took it, and I did fine, made the cut, but I didn't go in like, yep, thoroughly tested this. It was more like, well, I guess. And it feels even worse when it's big events, and everything's mysterious. Now, to be clear, this is how FFG has operated since 2012. Everything's a mystery. There's never a calendar. It feels like the companies they work with must be like cheaper for production, which would make sense to give them, a little bit more margin. I don't know, but there doesn't seem to be consistency from their suppliers, or maybe Wizards just plans out so far that they have the next couple sets all ready to go and they just release them on a schedule. But FFG has never done this. They've never come close to being able to meet a schedule. When they originally said something like, we'll have 3 sets a year, 4 sets a year, whatever they said originally, I just kind of laughed and was like, cool. I mean, FFG can say anything they want to do, but historically, doing what they say they want to do has never happened, right? It's just like, it comes when it comes, guys. We test it, we order it, and when it arrives, we give it to you. You're welcome, but we don't have a calendar. So I agree. I would love to see a release calendar. I just don't think this is going to happen with FFG. They're going to have to either change their distribution method or get so far ahead on their testing that they can do this, which I think is really unrealistic with Star Wars, by the way, because you have new movies coming out every year, and it would be really hard for them to be like, we're 3 sets ahead. Oh, right, there's a new movie out, and we have no cards that have anything to do with it for a while because we're 3 sets ahead. I just don't think that's going to happen. So while I agree, I do not think this is realistic, and I don't think we should even hope for this. If this is what we need to save the game, I think you need to wave bye-bye to Destiny, because this is not going to happen. All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2, better prize support to help players get into local game stores. $15 kits aren't cutting it. Give Destiny the L5R treatment and release a $100 prize kit. I will definitely echo the sentiments that having better prize kits would be great. The problem is the best players tend to win the best stuff. And I haven't actually looked at what this L5R $100 prize kit looks like, but I got to assume there are a couple really cool things in there. And that's not going to fix the problem of a dying community. That will fix the reward for those couple people that are winning. And the other problem is it's like this difficult situation that once the community starts dying, stores can no longer make an investment in a $100 prize kit, right? This is year 1 upward trajectory when you can make a move like this, like with L5R. But year 2, year 3, as the game starts petering out for FFG, I don't think they can make this move because most stores aren't going to get enough people to cover a $100 prize kit. I mean, can you imagine going into a 6-man tournament and the store's like, you got to pay like $18, and then when you lose, which you will because so-and-so is here and always wins, you will get this participation prize. Maybe since it's $100, you get another cool participation prize, but you're never going to get the awesome prize because so-and-so is going to win because this is a skill-based game. So I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is for FFG, like if FFG wants to grow the game, which I'm not sure they do, to be honest. I kind of think FFG is totally comfortable with their game plan of games grow for a year, and then they die for the next 4, and then we go on to the next game. But if they want to not do that and make this their game they're going to hold on to for 20 years and try to be Magic, I think the answer is to put more into it. To say, we are making $1 billion on this being a CCG, so as such, we're going to put more into these $15 prize kits, right? Like, they're still $15, but because we are making so much off off of CCG, we can afford to give more for the $15, and specifically more for the participation side of it. I don't know what that would mean. I mean, getting 2 alt art, is that really enough to keep people coming back? I don't know. For me personally, playmats are no longer a draw. I have such a huge stack of them. It's just hilarious to me. My wife openly mocks me when I bring home a new playmat. She's like, are you going to play with a stack of them in front of you? How are you ever going to use this? I'm like, yeah, I know, honey. Thanks. So the point is, I don't know. Like, I don't have a solution for what this prize support answer is, but I do think this is one of the places where there is an answer. If we can make prize support cool enough to bring people back out, Star Wars is a draw. If there's a really cool Darth Vader alt art, people may just come out for it, or a Yoda, or whatever beloved character they can come up with. So that I think there's something to be said there. $100 prize kits, I don't think the game supports that anymore. I think we've moved past that. All right, last one. Number 3, a complete starter product with 30 cards and a 30-point character list so that we can turn customers into players with the purchase of a single product. Okay. I don't know about this one. I think that's reasonable. I don't think you are turning customers into players with a terrible 30-card deck. I just don't think you are. Now, if you can make it over the curve, that might work, but they already tried that with the 2-player starter set, which ended up being a huge problem. It has broken cards in it, so much so that Phasma's already been nerfed. So I don't know that that's an answer either. And this is one of the problems that FFG games often face. It's all on the player base. Like, the actual answer is a person buys the 2-player starter set or some starter sets, and people are generous and give their extras to this person so they can have a playable set. The problem with that is people bop in and out of Destiny more often than they do for the LCGs, because since it's a CCG, that's kind of how it works, and you don't really have enough extras to give all the people bopping in stuff. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I personally do think it is ridiculous to have a 2-player starter set that doesn't have a 30-card deck. I've never understood that. I think that's absurd. So I totally agree that should happen. I disagree that it is an insta solution and will cause people to retain them instantly. I still think if a person rolls into a shop with an awful 30-card starter deck and gets rolled repeatedly, they're not going to be like, cool, I'm set. Like, they still have to make the decision, either I buy in or I don't. I mean, there is an argument to be made, though, that when they roll in with a 20-card deck, and you just look at them like, what are you doing? That's not even a legal deck. That's frustrating. So I definitely agree 30-card decks should be the norm. It doesn't cost them that much more to make non-dice cards. But at the same time, I'm not sure it solves much. And that's the problem. The Artificery has put forth 3 good, sensible ideas that are either just not going to happen with the schedule, or I'm not sure are fixing much. I would love to sit here and say these would fix it. I think what we need is something more outside of the box if we're going to fix this. And to be honest, I think this is just the FFG way. I think we're now seeing the downtrend of Destiny for the next couple of years. We're past the upward arc. Does that mean I think the game is dying? Not necessarily. I mean, it's dying in that all FFG games are dying after the first year. But I don't think it has to be a swift death, right? It can be the game has a really good 5-6 year run. But I think it's a mistake to get into an FFG game thinking you're going to be playing this 20 years from now. I don't think any FFG games are going to do that until they have a complete overhaul in how they think about these games. And I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not sure it's worth it for them. Why not just put out a new IP, milk it for several years, get all you can out of it, and move on to the next one? I mean, it seems like a great business model from their perspective. It's really unsatisfying for a player, as I've been through, the whole lifespan of several games now. And Netrunner is going to be a really good, interesting example to see how does something like an overhaul help the game. It doesn't seem to be growing again. Like Netrunner was huge the year before Destiny came out. Just huge. The biggest FFG game. It had a rough stretch, fell off the cliff, and FFG games don't normally recover once they fall off cliffs. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with my assessment that this is the trajectory of how FFG works? I would love to be wrong, to be honest. I would love Destiny to last 100 years. I would love for my grandchildren to play it. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm having a great time while it's here, and that's how I treat all FFG games. It's a great time while you got it, but it's not going to be forever. See you next time on Tendergrams Games.